Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful day so far. This is the second half question period to Minister Freeland's trip to Toronto. So, we didn't have enough time for this last time for the last video, but now we're doing it. So, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And with no further ado, let's get into it.
Hi there, it's Laura Stone, Globe and Mail. We've all agreed to do one question so everyone can get in. Minister Freeland, we've been reporting all week about tension between your office and the Prime Minister's office over the fiscal policy in this country. We've said that the Prime Minister is again in talks with Mark Carney to join the government, and the Prime Minister appears unwilling to personally defend you in public. How can you stay in the government when the Prime Minister continually tries to cut you off at the knees like that, and will you fight back against this effort to replace you?
Well, thank you for the question. For me, it is a huge privilege that I do not take for granted to serve Canada and Canadians every single day. It's a big deal. There are kids here who went to school with my daughter, who are great young innovators, and I'm really proud to be able to offer them something that will help their company. I'm proud and grateful to be able to serve in the cabinet of the Prime Minister, and I really don't spend a lot of time focusing on Ottawa gossip. My focus is on doing what I can to serve Canada and Canadians in what's a really challenging time for our country.
Next question, prochaine question.
So it's not really gossip anymore because first off, they brought him in as a consultant and on the economy, which is pretty much her job. And now, like she said, Trudeau is cutting her off at the knees. He's pretty much just saying that no, the budget's going to go up by $6 billion with this GST tax bill, and he's already put it through when the finance minister said no. And this has happened at least twice, and she's getting so much bad press. I mean, have a little bit of like self-respect and just tell Trudeau, like, if you do this, it's going to look bad on me, and I'm going to step down as finance minister. But I guess the paycheck's too good or something like that, because it just looks really, really bad on her. Not that she is a good finance minister to begin with.
Good afternoon. Jamie with City TV in Toronto.
And you're welcome for the tech support.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Saves the voice. Anyhow, real quickly, tariffs. We see premiers acting out of emotion, fear, and they're not confident in the message that's coming from Ottawa. Doug Ford is wanting to cut LCBO from buying anything American, threatening to pull the plug on the hydroelectricity that goes to the States. You've got the Premier of Alberta very vocal on her confidence in the Ottawa's messaging. Why is the messaging from Ottawa not as strong as the premiers that are in the various provinces?
Okay, I kind of disagree with some of the premise of that question, but
Feel free to
let me
express
let me talk about Canada and the United States, and let me talk about the federal government and premiers. So I have been talking a lot with the premiers of our provinces and territories. I had a good conversation yesterday evening with Premier Ford. This morning I spoke to Premier Eby, to Premier Moe, and to officials from Alberta. The premiers are an essential part of what needs to be a Team Canada effort when it comes to responding to the challenge from the United States. That's why the Prime Minister has led 2 meetings with the premiers of the provinces and territories, and there will be many more. Now, when it comes to what our approach needs to be when it comes to the United States, I think we've been clear and consistent. We believe that the best outcome for Canada and the United States is to work hard together to achieve a win-win. And we think that's the best outcome because it is based on the economic fundamentals of our relationship. You know, Canada depends on the United States, absolutely. It's also true that the United States depends on us. And the reality is that Canada is by far the largest market for the United States. We are a larger export market for the US than China, Japan, the UK, and France combined. That is a big deal. That gives us significant leverage. And the effort that is happening right now is for so many people from our government, and Minister Ng is part of this, from the premiers and their teams, business leaders, labor leaders, are really fanning out across the United States and are saying, are talking about this relationship with the United States, we're all explaining to our American counterparts, you benefit from this trade with Canada, which is balanced and mutually beneficial. And we believe that the right path for both our countries is to keep a great trading relationship going and to get to a win-win outcome. Having said all of that, it's really important to hope for the best and to prepare for the worst. And the Prime Minister has been clear that in the event that the United States were to impose unjustified tariffs on Canada, of course we would respond. And the Canadian response would necessarily be robust. I am confident that it would be effective. That was the experience we had with the 232 steel and aluminum tariffs, where a strong Canadian response led to a great outcome. And as I discussed with Premier Moe this morning, that was the outcome that we had with the country of origin labeling, when a strong Canadian response led to a good outcome. Now, for a Canadian response to be strong and effective, Canada needs to be united. And that's why we need to have good ongoing conversations with the premiers of provinces and territories. The ultimate response we come up with needs to be one that all of our country stands behind. And we need to be working with the provinces and territories. We need to be working with business leaders. We need to be working with labor leaders. That is what we are doing. I truly believe that a Canada which is smart, strong, and united is a Canada which will succeed.
Well, it really seems like, at least from what you're projecting onto provinces and how provinces are responding to Ottawa, is Ottawa and Trudeau have a very, it'll be fine. Don't worry, we'll respond in some sort of way if things don't go so well. Because in Alberta, I mean, she's been very vocal about Ottawa keeping their hands off of their border because Danielle Smith has been already investing a lot in the tiny, tiny border that we have with the United States. And that's where this whole thing stems from, is Trump is putting in these tariffs, or threatening to do that, if we don't invest in our borders. So what Danielle Smith has done with our tax money, which, I mean, the province isn't supposed to do with their own tax money, this is supposed to come from Ottawa, is she's bought patrol robot dogs, increased patrols at the border, and I think some other stuff, but I couldn't find. But like I said, this is federal jurisdictions, so we're not supposed to be doing that. And you see the exact opposite in Ontario, where in Ontario, Doug Ford is threatening to cut off the United States. I don't know what he's doing with the border. Probably nothing. Quebec themselves is just asking for them to control their own border, or I mean, control immigration inside of their province. So you're seeing that the provinces have no trust in Trudeau and the Liberals at all, and definitely no trust in Chrystia Freeland. So, because I mean, it doesn't matter what Chrystia Freeland says, Trudeau's just going to say, no, I'm going to do it my way.
Next question.
Hi, Minister. Good afternoon. So you're going to table the fall economic statement Monday. If there's any implementing legislation required, it's not clear if this is going to pass. So has the NDP or any other party told their price tag yet to get the legislation passed? And if not, what assurance can you give Canadians that anything you're proposing today will actually end up happening?
It's a good question. We are in a minority position in Parliament. That does mean that any measures we put forward that require implementing legislation do require support from other parties. I really believe that the measures that I have described today are really good for Canada. They're good for Canadian innovators. They are good for our capital markets. They're good for the Toronto Stock Exchange. They are good for our extremely strong and promising AI sector. And these measures would be a good idea no matter what. But I really want to underscore for Canadians the fact that we are living in challenging times right now. And we are living at a time of very great economic nationalism. We are living at a time when the competition for capital, the competition for investment is more fierce today than ever. Canada cannot stand idly by. We need to be there, and we need to be fighting for that capital, fighting for that investment, because that is how we fight for Canadian jobs and Canadian prosperity. And I really believe Canada has everything that we need to succeed. We have the world's smartest people. That is not an exaggeration. That is OECD data. We have a very strong technology sector. We have strong public capital markets. We build things in Canada. We have a strong manufacturing base. We have tremendous natural resources. We have a lot of power, whether it is oil and gas, hydro, nuclear. So we have all the ingredients to be a really successful economy and to be successful even in this challenging time. But we know that the government has a role to play in helping our innovators, in helping companies to scale up, and that's why we're putting these measures forward. I believe, particularly now, at a time of significant national peril, other parties in Parliament should not be looking at these measures as something partisan. They should see these measures as something that Team Canada needs right now. And so I hope everyone will vote to support them.
Last
Does anybody find it incredibly irritating that every time she's asked about bills or budgets, that she always explains to the media what a minority government is? Like, everybody knows what a minority government is. You don't have to explain it to us every single time. On another note, when she says that all of this stuff is a good investment and would be a good investment in any matter, I would say yes, unless you're a liberal government that is incredibly corrupt and has an incredible wasteful spending history, let's just say. And the only reason you pump so much money into these things is so you can stand up in Parliament and say, oh, we invested twice as much as the Conservatives did, and not say how much we got out of it. Because you've never said how much we get out of something that we pumped so much money in, i.e. the housing funds. So, and then after that, she's talking about nuclear energy. I have seen almost no news about new nuclear energy plants being built? Let me know in the comments down below if there are, because I've seen nothing.
Question. Last question, dernière question.
Hi, Deputy Prime Minister. Joseph Ryan, CBC News. Can I ask you to answer this in French and English as well?
Oui, bien sûr.
Merci, two official languages. Why did you sell the Air Canada shares this week, and how much exactly will this decrease this year's deficit?
I have no announcement to make about the government shares in Air Canada today. I will have an announcement to make in the coming days. The government was really glad to be there to support this great Canadian company, to support Canadian workers when COVID hit. And we believed then that by providing real government support, we would be able to support Canadian jobs and a Canadian company. We did the right thing then. We were always clear that we did not intend to be the long-term owner of Air Canada shares.
So provide a ton of money and buy a bunch of shares in an extremely large and oligarchical, if that's a word, airline. Like, you couldn't have bought shares in Flair Airlines, which tried to be a cheap airline that would fly all around Canada for an affordable rate. No, you had to buy one in a company that's rich, pretty much. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Anyways, that's all I got for you today, and the rest is just going to be the French version of this, so we're not going to go through that. It's kind of funny. I don't know if you heard in the background, one of the media people, when they said CBC was the last one, they were like, oh, come on. So that was pretty good. But let me know what you think about this stuff down below. And if you like this content, like I said, please like and subscribe. And with no further ado, have a good day.